Hello and welcome to the fourth episode. I'm Zhenya Kipperman. A few weeks after this war began, I wrote and posted on Facebook an open letter to Steven Spielberg. I could not think of anyone who did more as an artist and humanitarian to denounce and expose crimes against humanity and to celebrate and memorialize those who stood up to them. When I was writing this letter, Russian missiles and bombs were destroying Ukrainian cities, hundreds of civilians were already killed, thousands trapped without water or electricity, and millions fled their houses. And the world, in stunned paralysis, was watching 40-mile-long convoy of Russian tanks slowly advancing towards Kiev. Here's my letter. An open letter to Steven Spielberg, director of Schindler's List, creator of the Shoah Foundation, producer of Band of Brothers. Dear Mr. Spielberg, as the slaughter of the Ukrainian people by the Russian army gets more gruesome by the day and threatens to spill over into a wider war, I appeal to you as one of the great humanitarians of our time. I remember how in your Oscar speech for Schindler's List, you addressed the educators of the world. Please do not allow the Holocaust to remain a footnote in history, you said. Your passionate plea was clear. Let's not forget it, lest it happen again. Well, here we are, the script of September 1939 on replay, with helpless and bewildered citizens watching their impotent leaders fighting a mad dictator with words. Does the inaction of the US and its allies mean that from now on, any country with nuclear weapons can attack its weaker neighbors, bomb hospitals and maternity wards, use vacuum bombs on civilians, and starve people to death in besieged cities? I didn't do enough, says the sobbing Oskar Schindler at the end of your film. Mr. Spielberg, do you think that our leaders are doing enough to stop this horror? Do you think the people of the world are doing enough to put pressure on their leaders to do more? Our leaders seem to be under the illusion that bending to Putin's threats is the least risky strategy. They are giving up Ukraine, much like England and France betrayed Czechoslovakia in 1938. The appeasement did not stop Hitler then. It will not stop Putin now. Governments that choose shame over war get both, warned Winston Churchill. Those who think that not getting involved in this distant conflict is best for America are wrong. Saving Ukraine is not only a matter of morality, it is also critical for our own national security. If Putin is not crushed in Ukraine, there will be two camps in the world again, the so-called free world and the others living in militarized misery. Only this time the second bloc will be swiftly expanding. They will be stronger, with no moral restraints, but lots of nuclear weapons. Should inflation really remain our main concern? Iosif Kobzon was a famous Russian singer. He passed away several years ago. Today he is mostly remembered not for his songs, but for the fact that in October 2002 he saved several hostages, mostly kids, from the Chechen terrorists in a Moscow theater. Mr. Spielberg, your place in history as one of the great cinematic visionaries is secured. But history itself is being written at this very moment. To give the new generations a chance to enjoy E.T. and Indiana Jones, to learn from Lincoln and Saving Private Ryan, they first need a chance to be born. Like several other prominent Hollywood artists, you have Ukrainian roots. Some of them like Mila Kunis and Leonardo DiCaprio, donated generously to Ukraine in its heroic struggle for freedom. Such donations are very important, but using one's powerful voice to demand more action from the paralyzed governments may be even more important now. We are not fighting for Ukraine. Ukraine is fighting for all of us. I implore you, Mr. Spielberg, please speak up. You will be heard. Now is the moment when firm statements from public figures of your stature can make a crucial impact in saving humanity as we know it. This time, saving the planet is not just a figure of speech. Sincerely, Zhenya Kipperman, teacher. I sent my letter to the Washington Post, the New York Times, New York Post, Wall Street Journal, Variety and Hollywood Reporter, and Los Angeles Times. I also sent it to publicists, agents, and managers of Steven Spielberg, Mila Kunis, Leonardo DiCaprio, and the politically active Jon Voight. After Arnold Schwarzenegger posted his own appeal to the Russian people, I sent it to his representatives too. You guessed it, I had no responses. But I had no illusions. It was an unsolicited material from an unknown source. Maybe some intern in some newspaper or some assistant to some publicist opened my email and read it. Then it wasn't in vain. See you next time. Slava Ukraini!